bienvenue mes amis encore. Et tu vois, on est en France encore, on est à la Louvre, mais ça ferme bientôt. C'est la nuit, c'est un peu froid, je dois dire, c'est un peu froid. Mais on est là, on a le perspective académique qu'on doit finir pour la saison de la semaine 3e. Et pour faire ça, on a notre storytellers qui va venir. On a Kubi et Magical qui va venir et nous donner un tout petit peu d'une histoire de cette série qu'on a. Bienvenue mes amis.
Hi.
Hello.
Oui, et tu toujours pas de français, tu comprends pas.
I heard storytelling. I definitely got that part, so I'm gonna believe.
C'est simple. On va continuer, d'accord? Donc, premier, Magical. Tu vas être le premier. Tu vas aller quand je commence, d'accord?
I think I understand. So you're gonna give me some pictures,
Oui.
and I gotta tell the story of one of the players going.
Oui, bien. D'accord, on va commencer.
I should
Bien.
learn German.
On va commencer.
Learn German or Japanese. It definitely
Okay.
helps.
Okay.
D'accord. Vas-y, Magical, le storyteller.
All right. I'm the storyteller, so looks
Ooh.
like what we got here is a play mid lane from Chad and Joey, where at first it looked bad, but it was a nice pick coming in where they actually just committed fully. Had Chad level 3, as usual, looking for these ganks. This is something we see all the time out of Chad, and it works successfully. And then they try to rinse and repeat top lane. They notice that Bradley, he's getting shoved in by Concept. They got the man advantage. They go for Bradley here, but they also get a lot of damage onto Armeo first, which makes it hard for Armeo to back up Bradley. With Armeo focused out, then they have more members show up. They have an advantage. Pretty shows up shortly after that, so they can easily execute a the dive onto 2 members.
D'accord,
Okay.
ça va bien. Oui, troisième.
Okay, and this fight wasn't as good. This fight was them trying to see if they could wrap around with only 3 members here. They had Arrow a bit far away. Concept had already died. And, you know, it didn't end up being too bad, but they kind of set a tone for what we saw from Chad for the rest of that, where he would go out well in front of everyone else on his team and then take a lot of damage immediately first. The rest of the team might show up to help him out, but it was a little bit iffy.
That's where things got a little bit too quick.
Yes.
Je ne sais pas. C'était.
agreeing or disagreeing?
D'accord,
I'm
c'était
going to take it as a
bien.
positive.
Okay.
On va continuer.
Ok.
Ça va, d'accord. Kubi, toi,
That's me.
l'ours d'académie. Tu vas être le storyteller, oui? Ça va? D'accord.
Yes,
On
I
va
am a
commencer.
storyteller. I have books.
Oui.
I'm ready for the
bien,
photos.
bien.
I got books
Tu
to
vas
go.
être français à la fini de ça. Ça va. Donc on va commencer.
Okay. Oh, okay. Here we go. We're going to focus on Bradley. Yes, that level 1 trade. On the Aurelia, one of his specialty picks that he can play in the mid lane. And now the top lane with his new role. Getting the chunk on the Concept. This didn't turn out to be a die, but he did trade out the first blood, where he was able to get some creeps into the wave. And also turn that into the outplay where Bradley sitting at 3-1. May I say, sitting pretty against Immortals as things started out.
Mon
Not bad.
ami.
Unfortunately, this did get turned upon Bradley, and this is where Bradley started having the top lane experience where, well, sometimes, things don't go so great as he went from 3-1 to 3-6. But Bradley did end up making some big plays as the game went on, including this one as IMT. That previous image shown on the Immortals side, where Concept was missing. This was the punish from Team Liquid, and the punish was beautiful as the mobile carries of Bradley and Harry did some schmoovin against the side of Immortals as they turned that. Look at that gold lead for Immortals on the top. Still down 1.5k gold, even after finding the shutdown on Shad. This is where they got control back of the game. It did not let up from there.
Kubi. L'ours storyteller. Je peux le voir maintenant. Ah, ça c'était merveilleux.
3?
Bien fait.
out
Donc,
of 5?
on avait l'histoire du Tchad. pour les Immortals. Et il a essayé de convenir quelque chose. Et de l'autre côté, on avait Bradley sur son Aurelia. Et ça, c'était
Bradley's
génial.
Aurelia, yes.
Oui, bah, bien.
Oui,
Mais
oui.
tu vois, ces fois, je dois partir. Louvre, ça ferme. Je dois aller. Donc, mes amis, l'académie continue. Merci.
Merci. Yeah. We'll continue Academy. I think that's what he said. Again, I need subtitles for this. I need some subtitles to make sure. I'm just guessing at this point, using context clues everywhere. I don't know about you.
He held up a 3, and I don't know what that meant.
Well, there were 3 pictures, so maybe you got
That's
3
true.
from 3.
That's true. I don't know. Maybe pictures next time, or like note cards. The French. Like I said, we are not the LFL, but I appreciate the storytelling that we are able to do thanks to the lore and perspective academique. How'd I do?
Yeah, much better than I do.
I don't know, man. I saw you in the web. It was not too bad. As we do have concept, or I guess what do you call him? Lab rat?
No, he's the lab assistant.
Lab assistant. Okay, I
No,
think
the
concept...
lab rat is Kungus.
Oh, okay. That makes a lot more sense. I think Concept is a good lab assistant to have, as we have seen him using his champion pool to help Immortals. Same with Bradley, though, on the flip side. And in that game, we saw Bradley and the rest of Team Liquid get the best of Immortals. And I'm curious to see how Immortals bounce back, because it feels like this team, sometimes they do things that are together, and they look really good. And then other times, they look like they're on 4 different pages, and it looks really bad. So yeah. I want to see if IMT can bounce back, very much like they did so yesterday in their second game against Dignitas.
I want to see that as well. I want to see how they're going to do going into this next game. I think the big thing is they just have to play as a team. And speaking of team, let's bring back our host to join us. How is it going?
I'm back. I was just having a little break. You know, it's a long day. I just needed some time to myself, but
it's fine.
Gotta say, what a game. What a bangerino, guys.
50 kills.
50
That was
kills.
at this point, like, we're in Chinese New Year break for LPL, but are you sure we're not watching the LPL? Like,
right.
I don't know. That
50
was
50 kills
insane.
in that game. That's 25 times more kills than C9 got in their 2 games yesterday.
That's insanity.
I'm really good at
not the
live
player,
math.
but actual insanity. Incredibly enough, we are already ready for our final game of the day. So, fellas, take us away.
Ooh.
All right, let's get ready for this. Thanks for joining us, even if it was briefly. Lennon, we'll see you after this game for a nice interview. But we got to wrap up our day here on the B stream. Finish up this series. IMT need to bounce back in this one against Team Liquid. Otherwise, they're just going to continue to slip down in the standings after having start so strong in this season as well. That last game, one of the first losses that we've seen out of Chad on Viego.
Yes, now 4-1. I think that Chad, it felt like him, Joey, Pretty, there were some really good moments, especially from Pretty, just never able to fully, get in sync after the first 15 minutes, which IMT did play beautifully. Their first 15 minutes, they had a 3K gold lead. That is a major lead. They were getting the best of Team Liquid. That rotation they had for Rift Herald. Yes, it got outplayed by Bradley and Armeo, but Concept was the huge beneficiary of that, got back in the game as the Mundo, and then things fell apart. So I want to see if Immortals can put together that full game like we saw them do against Dignitas their second game yesterday. And a lot of that was built around Pretty's Victor, which has been fantastic. It is 4-0 in their 11 games that they have played so far this year for Immortals. So I'm wondering if that might be the change-up we see in draft, as it is same size for each team. So I expect the openers to be relatively similar from each team. I'm just wondering where the pivot comes.
This is going to be a controversial statement. I think you go for the salty run back if you're Immortals.
Really?
I don't see anything wrong with that composition. I think it's how they played it.
I
think it's how they played it.
I think that's fair.
They didn't have the communication when it came to that mid game.
Yeah.
They kind of fell apart there and got picked apart by Team Liquid. They punished them at every stage, saying, Chad, why are you here? We've got you. Team Liquid did a great job at reading those plays, but I think if Immortals just played it a little bit cleaner, it would have been a far closer game.
Immortals had the lead, so if they are able to play it clean, I think that is fair criticism of Immortals. And at least to start off the draft as we expected, we do see a very similar pick ban, as we're expecting Yawn to take the Jinx here. Yep. That would lead to the Aphelios and Leona response from Immortals. That would be now a Jarvan lock-in for Armeo, which I expect to be the same for Team Liquid. I think the pivot that we see is the Blanc taken off the table from Harry.
Again, I don't know if that's the case, because I think Pretty did a good job in neutralizing that. They didn't have that impact that we saw before from Harry and Armeo when they had the Jarvan LeBlanc combination. I feel like the biggest things that are going to come in from Immortals is down to execution of this game. The same thing could be said from Team Liquid with how they play the early game. There's a lot of things that could be fixed up by both teams with this composition that I honestly don't know if either really want to change it.
Interesting, Mad Magical, as that is quite the proposal that you're sending in for us from the lab. Something else that I actually want to look out for, considering the in the lab fun. What ends up happening with Concept's Mundo? I think that Concept, I know that was a loss, and I know that Bradley had a pick prep for it and executed upon it rather okay. I still think that performance warrants a ban, and narrowing down the ability for Concept to have a good blind pick, I think is something that Team Liquid can do to make sure that Bradley maintains that lead in the top lane, but we see the Cassian ban. This is where I expect the pivot with the LeBlanc taken off the table.
There it
now is when I want to see Harry lock in that Victor and deny that from Pretty.
Yep, I expect that to be the case here. I expect them to just grab that. It's a great... You talked about it. How powerful Jarvan Victor can be when you have a Thresh on your team as well to make sure they're locked into that Cataclysm. That's what I expect to be it. This Yone, however, isn't what I'm expecting to actually be the lock-in coming in. Orianna, on the other hand, is something that kind of functions in a similar manner when it comes to how you want to play around those Cataclysms.
It's a bit more early power with the side of Harry, and it is dissuading away from that Victor pick, as we have seen Orianna be a counter to Victor. Specifically thinking back to our cast yesterday on the Academy stream, Ryoma murdered copy in that matchup as Orianna into Victor. Now, Pretty doesn't seem to care. And Victor, this is going to be difficult to pilot into Jarvan Orianna. If you don't have Flash, Team Liquid will be able to punish with shockwaves, with cataclysms, and more. So Pretty has to be very, very careful in these early stages, because if he drops that Flash early, it gives Team Liquid a giant X on the map to keep on attacking.
I think it's also going to be a lot onto how Chad plays this Viego with Victor. If they want to play for that mid lane, we see these early ganks consistently out of Chad. Regardless of what jungler he plays, he likes to look for those level 3 plays. And with an Ornn on the top side of the map, something that isn't going to be too easily punished by Team Liquid, they have more tools to utilize with this mid-jungle duo.
Bradley showed his GP yesterday. I think GP would be really good into Aphelios Victor. But Bradley has also been known for his Sylas. Sylas into Ornn is a wonderful matchup. Could be another option for Bradley, but I think he's going to stick to that Gangplank. I mentioned yesterday, he got this pick out of lane and actually played some of the team fights really well. He did a 2-barrel chain combo, which when you're able to execute that on Gangplank consistently, that tells me you've put in a lot of games on Gangplank. So Bradley will take the counter into Concept. I think the Ornn over the Mundo is good this game because Orianna and Jinx are immobile carries, and it gives them more CC to play off of. And that easy way to just say, guys, Ornn's pressing R. This is when we fight. That's something that Immortals struggled with in the last game. I think that Ornn patches that up a little bit, even if it is going to be a harder lane matchup for Concept on the top side.
It's that non-committal engage that I really like to see with something like an Ornn.
Yeah, you know, 1500 unit, like just press R, have a giant horn, just like run through an enemy team twice. Yep. It's pretty good.
Exactly, and it's kind of like why I tend to like Sejuani, even if it's not necessarily the most exciting
I'm a Sejuani fan, yeah.
Right, it's just what you're able to utilize with that tool. Using the ult to kind of say, hey, we could go for a gank fight here if we want to, but we don't have to. We can use that as a tool to peel back, then fight back into it, or similar thing. A lot of zone control as well around these objectives.
And for Immortals, it is a very much a late game identity. And it's going to be about protecting these big backline carries in Pretty and Arrow. I know that this is the team identity that we expect Immortals to have for the majority of spring, given Concept's champion pool. But there isn't a ton. Like, Ornn provides good peel. Leona can peel from divers, but defending against something like Gangplank, that's something that IMT are going to struggle with this game. So I know that we've had a lot of focus on Bradley versus Concept, two of the new top laners that we have in the league this year. I really want to see if Bradley can step up on the Gangplank, because he does have the chance to hard carry.
That he does, as we load up on the Rift for our final game of the day here on the Brady stream. Keep in mind, there is far more League of Legends action even after this game concludes on the main stream on twitch.tv/academy. We'll have one more game there with their second series as well as the third series of the day. So when this finishes, we'll all make sure we go and join them there. Watch the beautiful stylings of Rafa and Joshi casting.
Before that, we have to settle the score in this series, though, as Team Liquid looking to put together a 2-0. I know that they're split with 100 Thieves yesterday. It was a pretty fun best-of-2 series, if you guys did not catch that on the B stream as well. But sure, if I'm in that camp of TL, I'd much rather have a 2-0. I know this is a rather revolutionary statement I'm making.
Wow.
But I think that they have the tools to do it. And I think a lot of it's going to come from seeing if they can execute around Yawn. I know that Yawn had a relatively quiet game, but Yawn was very, very fed in that one and pumping out a lot of damage for the side of Team Liquid. And again, we have a game where both junglers pathing towards this bot side. Gonna have to see if they can cash out.
As well, watching the top lane. Bradley on this gangplank that you had talked about previously. How well he played that just yesterday. Barrel chains and utilizing that in the team fights around things like Baron. But it is up against Concept on Ornn. A new look for Ornn. I know, for Ornn, for Concept. We haven't actually seen the Ornn out of him just yet. We've seen a lot of tanks. But seeing something that's far more built around setting up the rest of the team in the front-to-back team fight. Not really caring too much about staying in the side lanes and trying to see what kind of strategies you can gain from there.
Ooh, Concept's going to eat a trial by fire and Q from Bradley. As playing this matchup aggressively in the top side, actually out of corrupting potion stacks. So Concept should have the advantage now, given the Dorn shield and the fact he can build items on his own. And this is Bradley. Neither top laner does have help coming towards them,
and I don't think they will.
Yeah, no, they are not gonna. So that's on an island, but it should enable Concept to keep the CS at least relatively even if Bradley is gonna have shove.
As well, you can see what's going on here. Just Concept healing back up, waiting it out. Like you talked about, Bradley not having any more stacks of the corrupting potion. It's going to be a little bit more difficult to fully bully around Concept, especially when you're playing something like this tank in Ornn. He's got a lot of good base damage, a lot of good tools early game to try to see if he can contend against the Gangplank. But at the time being, just going to be pushed in. Gotta want to translate into this mid lane. You talked about it before. How
Pretty.
Ooh.
Pretty might get ganked here by Armeo. Harry is low health, so this is more of a pressure gank, but Pretty.
That's going to be the gravity field. Was able to get the stun onto
Great
Armeo.
flashes.
Has a flash
Yeah.
available. Flashed away. Waited for Armeo to use his.
I think it's a very intelligent trade of flashes from Armeo, as Pretty, we mentioned in the pregame, these big carries from Immortals, yes, they are going to do a million damage in the late game, but they don't have a ton of appeal. They don't have any way to move their positioning on the Rift, as we sometimes see with something like a Thresh Lantern. I think that this is, while a smaller gank from the side of Team Liquid that doesn't bring any rewards at the moment, I think that it was the right play from Armeo to intentionally trade the flashes there. That is something that he is doing on purpose to make sure that he has a lane to gank and retarget now with his team moving forward.
It'll be pretty easy too, especially now that Pretty TP's back into lane when you have something like Rhino on this Thresh. You can call him up for a little bit of assistance onto Pretty. Flag and drag combo too. I'm betting they're probably going to wait though till Harry gets level 6. Then they can have the full wombo combo stylings on top of Pretty with no escape possible.
We'll have to see. There are 2 control wards in this bot river, and I like how Immortals are hovering Pretty. Now that you have a mid laner with no flash, you have to play around this as a team. And so I think them making sure that Pretty is getting some help and assistance is real good, as we see some of the emote stylings from both of these top laners.
And speaking of styling, Chad continuing to try to invade Armeo, steal away some of his KFC. Just getting a couple though, not really taking the full camp. Just a bit useful. Not going to be actually as much as you'd want though from Chad here. Not seeing that early gank out of him. It's level 4, which is unusual for Chad to see him waiting this long to actually look for a gank onto any lane.
Still a relatively quiet game is Concept. Really nice trade into Bradley, able to proc both sides of his passive. Bradley Let's be a little bit careful now as he is on the back foot. We did tease the fact that Concept had a decent start to this lane, will pull the lane and actually force Bradley's TP.
So it's funny that you actually say that it's a slow game, because we saw this last time. We saw the same thing in the previous game. But here, we talked about the no flash, the shockwave, level 6 first blood for Armeo.
Easy revisit, and that's why Armeo made sure to trade the flash as a Concept, calling the bluff of Bradley. He has ult.
He has ult flash away, looking for that, getting the damage. Concept's base damage is insane, but the no mana, like you had called out, Cubby, is the reason he couldn't pick up the kill.
Yeah, couldn't press W to make sure he gets the solo kill, but does net the flash of Bradley, who will now TP back. Very greedy of Bradley to not base and TP preemptively, and Concept will match, so that wave keeps on shoving towards him. Armeo, in the meantime, leaves up that chicken, slowing down the clear of Chad, and Team Liquid off to a good start in this one. 1k gold lead. Have already attacked Pretty to put him behind. That's an easy lane to revisit for the side of Team Liquid, as once Armeo gets Cataclysm, they can easily rinse and repeat that once again.
I'm just looking at that cooldown on Shockwave. I called it in the first place. Hey, sometimes I have a big brain. Sometimes. We got level 6, Shockwave with Armeo showing up, and I'm betting the same exact thing is going to happen once that cooldown's up.
All right, I'm not going to bet against you on that one, man, Magical. I like your chances.
Yeah, I mean, it's what I would do if I was the jungler. It's what I would call for if I was the mid laner. I'd be like, hey, you know what? Pretty ain't got nothing. We're going to be able to kill him over and over again. There's not going to be that Vex highlight reel for you this time on Victor. But
nice.
Chad, getting the flash out of Harry, that could mean a little bit more dicey situation for that play we were just setting up.
I think that's intelligent by Chad to make sure that Harry doesn't have flash, because he is assuming that Armeo wants to attack this mid lane again. So trading that one out, it means that Harry at least can't follow up the flash to make that next kill on Pretty a little bit more difficult, and we'll utilize that pressure to steal the chickens.
Getting himself a little bit of that revisit, the chickens that have been stolen from him, and leaving that singular chicken for Armeo. It is revenge. But wait, didn't Chad start it by trying to invade his chickens? Wait a minute. How does that work?
Who knows?
Is it revenge when you did it in the first place, and then you're just doing it back after they did it to you?
Absolutely.
That's how. I feel like I'm missing something here, but as we look back onto this lane, we see Armeo was spotted out by that ward in the tri-bush, placed down by Concept. Concept's not too worried. He's got some honey fruits that he can gobble up. If Armeo really wants to fight him, it's going to be difficult. Doesn't really have any damage to be able to back that up, nor does Bradley have that flash to follow up the movements onto Concept.
We are at the point of the game where Rift Herald has spawned, so Team Liquid, leaving Yawn on the bot side, this is something that last game worked out very well for them, as this was the point where Bradley and Armeo were able to find that 2v4 trade, and Yawn got 3 points for himself. Now Harry, Joey spotted. He's going to have a tough time farming this wave, but the trade looks to be coming in from Immortals, as they will take this Rift Herald for free. But Yawn is going to try and counter by picking up points on the bot side, along with a soul gold and XP, as Bradley, oh no, he's no flash, he's dead.
Horn, an arrow there for a free kill.
A little bit of a mistake from Bradley, as the trade's going on. You aren't at the Rift Herald. You can't make that one.
Nice heal.
Okay, he's going to use heal.
That was a nice heal out of arrow, honestly.
Yeah. See, this is the bummer for top lane, is that you have to respect the weak side. You know, you're no longer mid. Not everyone plays around you, Bradley. You gotta back off when appropriate.
Especially there. We already had seen that Concept is not afraid to use the Ornhorn solo against Bradley on this gangplank. Let alone if he has backup of Arrow, of all people, to rotate up top lane. For this play around the Rift Herald, they have netted for Chad. They can place down, get a lot of extra gold, and now you can see it's answered by Team Liquid, but way too late to stop any of this additional gold going into the carry's inventory of Arrow.
That's going to cost them dearly. That's first brick going over to the Aphelios plus Diego and Yawn. Yes, received 3 points in the bot lane along with the solo gold and XP, but it's not the lead like we saw in the last game, where Yawn, after this series of events, was up something like 25, 30 CS. Now it's a manageable lead. It's only 2 waves in favor of Yawn. So Immortals getting the much better end of this trade. You can see that in the gold differentials. It's very close as we now crest onto the past the 10-minute mark, and Armeo picks up that Hextech Dragon for himself.
And with that dragon, it's a nice neutral objective netted by Team Liquid. to equate what had happened in the top lane. Even if it's more of a consolation prize, at least it's something that can set them up for more scaling if they want to play for soul point potential.
Chad has made his way into the top side. There's no turret. Joey's going for the long haul.
Ooh,
as he
nice
burns
dodge, a
ult.
nice stun, but there is the lantern. Look at Joey catch this retreat. And it was a Captain Jack cleanse coming in from Yon. He's dying to the ignite, but nobody was able to show up from Immortals to try to see if they could back him up.
Actually, the slow from Yon onto Arrow was really nice there, because if Arrow lands that ultimate, that might be enough damage to pick up the Jinx, but Yon makes sure that is not the case, and somehow Team Liquid's bot lane, they do burn both flashes, but they at least get out of there with their lives.
Yeah, getting out of there with their lives is going to be nice. The cleanse burned by Yon is something that could be revisited by Immortals, but you really need to be able to get that flash, especially, off of Yon if you want to be able to revisit it, because we look mid lane. With Harry not having that flash, we haven't seen that be punished by Immortals. They're not playing as aggressively as we know them to in these early stages, even to the previous game, and I almost wonder if that last game left a bit of a scar on them.
They are scaling. They have Victor, Aphelios, plus Ornn. So I think that the moves that Immortals have made early have been more calculated. And I want to see if this continues, because they are making these moves together. And speaking of this, they are moving towards this top side. Joey is spotted.
Nice zap coming in from Yon, as well as that control ward that had played it in wait on the other side. It's able to spot out the movements coming in from Immortals. There's not very much to gain on that top half of the map for them. More just trying to see if they can get some minions, as Harry burns Shockwave onto Pretty, looking to see if he can force him out of lane, as well as net a little bit of control here mid.
I'm okay with that, because it looks like Team Liquid now moving their jungler up to the top side. Rhino, Pop Sweeper, all this is spotted on the side of Immortals, but Chad is not here to respond. So Team Liquid looking to funnel more plates into Yon. Worked out in the last game. I think it's a good strategy for this one as well.
Also wonder if they're trying to see if they can set up for a dive potential. It is a hard lane to actually gank, especially with Joey hanging right there on the other side to be able to catch Armeo. But they're still hanging out here. They're still keeping these members, crashing in the minion wave, getting a little bit of a lead on that side, but all kind of traded. It's the ebb and flow that we're seeing here on the Rift. A very slow, tempered game. Not nearly as bloody as last game, but this is what we were talking about earlier. Last game was very similar, where it was a very slow early game. But once the excitement happened, once the fights commenced, they did not relent.
Both teams have a lot of scaling tools, so I think opting into this is not a surprise for me. And honestly, I still value the scaling of Team Liquid, just given this game, Pretty and Arrow are immobile. And I know that IMT have a lot of tools to find engages as the Solar Flare goes wide on Rhino. But if Bradley is able to connect any of these big barrels on the Gangplank, the carries for IMT just cannot walk up against Team Liquid. And I really value the trigger pull of Armeo's Jarvan plus Harry, this mid-jungle duo that got Team Liquid to the finals of Academy playoffs plus Proving Ground Summer last year, and one that has been playing very well, even though Harry came over later in the split already this year.
With Harry showing up a bit late, it could have been Rocky, but he's been doing a good job here in mid lane. It's been a good rock for the team, someone they played, with last year. You could tell that they didn't really miss a beat there. They still feel very comfortable, the entire squad of Team Liquid. While they might have a new top laner, new support with Rhino stepping in, Bradley's really been able to step well into the shoes of Jenkins and play aggressively
50.
here.
He got 50 gold for that 2-barrel combo. That's what I was mentioning that Bradley was able to do. If you are a seasoned Gangplank player, that's something that is sometimes hard to pull off. You got to be very exact with your range on the Q. It has to be max range for you to do the 2-barrel combo.
And he's doing a good job. Did a good job yesterday,
very nice.
Doing a good job today, even if the laning phase was a little rough.
no.
Mid lane, we're seeing that Rhino getting caught out of position and punished by Immortals. The rocket went wide. Concept nearby too. Look at where Armeo is positioned. Pretty has spotted him out. He knows that he's in a bad spot. They could try to chase this down, even with Chad on the other side. He's waiting and wait to see if he can find out the jungler of Team Liquid, but doesn't need to.
I like the pick from Immortals, but I don't feel like it's worth it. Bradley is able to get this turret for himself. They only get the support. I know they're going to take Shelly, but unless they can use this to get the mid-outer turret, I still think Team Liquid comes out on top when it comes to this trade.
I agree, especially where the gold is being placed. You talked about Bradley getting that turret in bot lane. This Gangplank is continuing to scale. Essence Reaver already in the inventory. Getting a Serrated Dirk as well. He is starting to get these items necessary for the Gangplank to really start hitting hard.
And Pretty had to burn Flash in the back half of that play, too. So Team Liquid now taking the second dragon. It is a Cloud, which guarantees them a good soul as they roll the Ocean Soul. Pretty's flashless, so they can attack him in the side lane if they would like. And Team Liquid up 1k at this point of the game. They have the Gangplank scaling. Bradley going for that Prowler's Claw yet again. Trying to use that active to reposition. Did so very nicely in his game yesterday. And Team Liquid just business as usual on the Rift.
Waiting it out, just scaling up into the game. Not really looking for too much. But this is where we have to go back and talk about how Immortals can scale too. Both teams have great opportunities when it comes to this mid to late game, with working together as a unit. In the previous game, we saw Team Liquid a little bit better on the calls, the communication as a squad, but we've seen that similar communication from Immortals in the past. We just need to see them do that here, and they're playing far more tempered League of Legends.
I know that, you know, they are still trying to come back from that week 2, trying to figure out some more strategies. Is Yawn. Good sidestep.
Nicely done. Look at that. He's just standing on top of the lantern because he knows he could always take that. But with
that's no
this
lantern,
call
though.
coming in, the flash away to be able to survive. Zap onto Joey, pulled back in with the Death Sentence
Nice.
Cataclysm 2 to pick up a kill for Rhino.
Really well played by Rhino, who on the Thresh has really been shining. I know that Rhino, that week 1 performance, he chalked it up to some nerves for him and Bradley, but as he is now in LA getting more assimilated with this Team Liquid roster, he's like, I'm learning from Ayla Core JJ. It's actually so crazy working with this roster. Of course, he did work with them at the back half of 2020, but being back, he's been thrilled, and good to see him stepping up more and more in his games, as that was a really nice bait, and Death Sentence connecting on Joey to not the kill there.
And just a singular kill onto the support, and that's a lot of control on this bottom half of the map for Team Liquid. Stealing away several of the camps from Chad to make sure red buff is gone. Raptors are gone. More gold into Yawn's pocket. He's completed that Kraken Slayer as well, so he can cut through Concept.
And IMT for them. Oh, Yawn. Okay, that's
Cleanse
the cleanse.
again. Yawn's really good on these cleanses. He's really on point.
It is, but that's a misposition from Yawn. With no teammates, he needs to play further back, and that's very smart on Arrow to trade that Gale Force for the cleanse. They can punish later. The Rift crashes, but it doesn't lead to the complete mid-outer. And Team Liquid still have control as Armeo.
Seen it played. Oh, missing the Solar Flare. Nice flag and drag away from Armeo. Getting the thumbs up from Joey. But getting these little incremental leads from both sides, I want to see how Immortals can punish now. With Harry having Flash available, having the Shockwave too, with that turret right behind them, it's going to be difficult for Immortals to continue chase, especially the Shockwave that I talked about. The flash coming in from Chad, but he's not going to be able to pick up the kill. Barely Harry survives.
Decent attempt from Chad, but you can see how far he is reaching in this game. Maybe it's because Immortals feels like they're going to get outscaled pretty heavily as well, but oh boy, Pretty, no flash.
Still. And look at how long that lane is. There is no salvation here. The best you can hope for is maybe a trade back onto Harry, but the damage from Armeo is too much. Well, mid lane, wait, there's
no
more
sums.
fightings happening, and Harrow, he punishes the no sums Yawn.
Is Yawn too far up? Your team's going for a play on the bot side. Your top laner showing top. You could eat that wave at the turret. Gets punished, pushing out, but still Team Liquid, they're the ones coming out on top. That's a 4k gold lead now as they punish Pretty's Flash being down and really give themselves a foothold in this game. As this composition, Armeo's Jarvan has been so good in this season, Mad Magical, and his ability to just control the pace of the games. Really giving Immortals a hard time in Game 1 and now in Game 2.
Oh, no, this is why, looking at Armeo versus Chad, we were curious of how Chad was going to be able to deal with this kind of jungler. Someone who's far more about controlling his opposition, setting up his team. He's 3-0 on Jarvan, but look at how that's translated to top and mid.
It's just so calculated. Even thinking back to that trade of Flash's mid on Pretty, he knows that if he does that, then he gets another window to rinse and repeat, and he's able to hit that successfully with Harry. Immortals did save that mid lane matchup with the roam from Joey and Chad, so props to them on the response, but this game is being played at Armeo and Team Liquid's pace, and that's really giving IMT trouble.
Chad looking for these angles too. stepping up a bit too far for the rest
Oh.
of his team to be able to show up, and that's going to
Good
be the call of
Ornal.
the Forge God. He's only knocking up one. Harry now locked down forever, but nobody can get near him.
No
Finally,
flash.
Joey's on top of him. They're going to be able to get shut down for Pretty with the fight on the other side. Yon's underneath the turret, helping himself to a lot of damage onto Arrow, looking for the rocket as well. Going to be able to get the reset. He's
no.
excited. He can chase it down. He's got the damage coming in onto Chad to be able to slow him down, but a nice laser pointer getting a lot of damage. But with the zap connecting onto
No flash,
Pretty,
Pretty.
it's Yon
There
looking
it
for the
is.
double kill. The barrel chain out of Bradley.
Bradley's gangplank is clean, ladies and gentlemen, as this talented mid laner is slowly picking up the top lane, and it's great to see him incorporate some new champions into his pool as we get a second look. This is a really good play into Harry. They know Harry's flashless. We talk so much about punishing Pretty being flashless. The CC chain from Concept, Joey, Pretty, very good, but the response from TL, Arrow split. He can never DPS in that fight. He hits the Gale Force around the wall, and Armeo seeing that instantly pulls the trigger, forces the flash of Pretty with the Cataclysm, and moving on from there, that zap connects. The barrel chain from Bradley is what wraps it up as Team Liquid, man, running away with this game. That's the mid outer. That's now Soul Point for them with Ocean Soul on the Rift. That's a 5k gold lead, and it's all happening from Armeo just controlling everything.
His jungling, sometimes how he plays this game, it's just on another level with the control, the tempered gameplay, patience as well, the target selection. Now, I already mentioned how he set up Bradley, how he set up Harry. They've got 2 kills for Bradley. He's got that Prowler's Claw completed. Bradley is set up to win this late game.
Oh, IMT, they know that they're in a bit of trouble. So they are sending it onto this Baron. Armeo is fishing with the flag, spots Arrow. Should be able to assume that they're on it. Will control ward over. Bradley has TP and ult. And IMT, they have to back off. They can't go for that as Bradley. I do want to return the Bradley. 2, 1, and 3 on the gangplank, but given the first strike gold and the extra gold you get in GP's kit, he is up an item and a half on Concept and already has that LDR finish. So he is going to be chunking the side of Immortals if he connects with more of these barrels.
Yeah, observers, can you please just toggle over to the gold? I need to see this. I need to see this kind of lead that Bradley has, because it is going to be absurd. I know it. Yep, there it is.
Negative 29.
Negative 29, but what is that, a 4,000 gold lead?
Almost 3,
just shy?
yeah, almost 4K. And it's just Bradley getting so far in between the bonus gold you get from the parlays, the first strike. He is up 2k gold on everyone else in the game on this gangplank with all the bonuses he's getting, along with the good play that he's been able to put together. I know he got caught out a couple times in the top side, burning that flash, then getting punished later by the side of Immortals. But besides that, Bradley's been so good. And this guy was picked up and role swap because of his mechanics. He was the #1 prospect that we had on the Mobilytics website, working with Tim Magic 7 Houston, Smacks, and Rafa, who's on the Academy stream right now. We were all kind of surprised when he role swapped the top lane, but Bradley really wanted to be on Team Liquid. This was the path to him, really setting himself up for his career, and this lane swap to top lane. This guy's mechanics are so clean. Watching him pick up this role and improve, really fun to see.
It's funny that you are saying that you're surprised to see Bradley role swap, but with his champion pool, I knew he could succeed.
Yeah.
There's just a Xiao special there.
Somewhat. I like the fact he's pulling out this gangplank, though. He was teasing it on Twitter. He's like, my gangplank's clean now. And it's good to see him prove that on the stage, not once, but twice this week. As any of these barrels that connect on the side of IMT will be deadly. Game has slowed down a bit, but now Team Liquid are setting up for this Baron, at least pressuring, as the barrel chains are being denied by Arrow. But Team Liquid are controlling this topside river. 2 minutes till Dragon. They can afford to keep this Baron control. This Concept will respond at least with a wave crash. Bradley gonna drop some CS.
So the game's still afoot. Bradley might be in a good position for himself, but we got to look at how Immortals are with their items, with their spikes. They've got 2 items for Arrow, 3 and 0. And soon, these ornaments are going to start decorating the inventory of Immortals members, especially for Arrow, the member that they're probably going to try to play the most around.
I think for the side of Immortals, they have to wait till Pretty gets flash up. If Pretty or Arrow don't have flash, it feels so difficult for Immortals to actually execute a team fight. And so I think that once they get those summoner spells up, as Pretty is about 45 seconds away from the flash, should have it in time for this next dragon fight. I think that the best case scenario is watch your flanks, but just get up front to back 5v5. Use that big call to Forge God to connect with Team Liquid or burn flashes, and then have Joey and the rest of the team follow up from there.
Wait to see how that's going to be.
They got to win the 5v5. You can't win size against Bradley. This guy is doing way too much damage.
That's the thing. We have to wait. Immortals don't really have that luxury to just look for these plays to force an issue, because like you said, Bradley, look at the damage he's already doing to Concept now. Got that LDR is in his inventory.
Oh,
has
Joey.
the Prowler's Claw 2.
Okay.
Joey is looking for an attempted play, but it's still, I think that
Nice right
Bradley
call.
could 1v2 it. Now that they've spotted out that there was a Leona
Oh.
bot, they try to see if they can pull the trigger, but they pull back instead because they're worried about this mid lane.
Honestly, that was a weird start of the Baron because they did drop the mid outer, but also it's 30 seconds for the dragon spawns. And now Armeo's taking a very aggressive path. We'll get chunked out.
Oh, that's a lot of damage coming in from Pretty.
Good
He's
punish from
continuing to
IMT.
scale up into this game. He's got himself a Zonius, too, to continue these fights longer and longer so they can get more and more damage slowly but surely. As this objective gold bounty has been picked up for them with that one turret, should be able to get themselves to the second turret. Even though Bradley's here with the barrel chain, it's not enough to kill out the minions.
Bradley's trying to get fancy with these two barrels. He's got so much confidence in himself in his own play. A couple of them not connecting, though, and now Armeo, he's spotted.
Oh, no! Armeo
Chunked out
flag
again.
and drag away, but he didn't flash. He was able to hold on to that.
This is
That's a
huge.
big win for them. The biggest thing is the fact that this dragon has been started up by Chad.
It will be taken by Chad as a team that could really trying to go back. Armeo
They're
is
just trying
so
to kill
low.
him.
They can't get the smite in range, so this will go over to IMT. That's huge.
All of Forge God knocks up Bradley, knocks up Armeo as well. Chad's on the other side. They've got a lot of damage with the Heartbreaker as well. Finally, they've killed off Bradley. They might have gotten the kill back onto Chad, but they've taken out one huge member for Team Liquid. Armeo split from the team. They can continue to chase him, but they poke out
Good
Yon
zone.
slowly but surely. The zone control out of Immortals. It's a slow battle back and forth, but the damage in. Armeo goes back in. Shockwave onto 3 members comes in from Harry, but everyone's still alive on Immortals. They got to be careful because look at where the minions are set up for Team Liquid.
Oh, I thought Armeo and Harry made that work for the side of IMT, but I think even more impressively, Pretty and Arrow, they held on to Flash. They just ate the damage and healed up from there. Team Liquid now looking to get back on the Rift. They have the TP for Bradley and the Smite down, but instead it looks like they're just going to go for the reset. Never mind,
they?
TP.
I think they're waiting. Look at where Pretty and Arrow are. They're spotted out on these minions too. Armeo's on the flank. Here's the TP in from Bradley. They can try to see if they can get the flash, but they got the flag and drag combo with the Flay too. And Arrow is killed. The big member for Immortals gone. The Baron should be Team Liquid's.
Arrow not flashing there, I think that's smart. He was dead. And if you drop that flash, it gives Team Liquid something to focus on the entire time. But Pretty just TP'd all the way to the bot lane turret. So even if they wanted to go to this Baron, he couldn't even be in range. So Immortals just sees that if he TPs to the wave or the control ward, maybe they can poke them out or contest. But that's just a straight up default. They gave the Baron away to Team Liquid.
Team Liquid with the Baron onto all 5 members as well. TP gone for Pretty. We got 3 minutes until the next dragon spawns as well. Team Liquid should have all the time within the world on this Rift.
And Team Liquid are just dancing around Immortals here, Mad Magical, as they were not able to find any footing around that Baron, and that bait from Team Liquid. IMT thought that they reset. That's why they were pushing that far up, but it was a beautiful bait from Team Liquid. They take down Arrow, take the objective from there, and are taking any chance away from IMT to pick up a game in this best of 2.
With this Baron, we're going to see a massive gold swing, even though there's some objective gold bounties picked up by Immortals, all while getting some of these ornaments that I talked about before. Pretty has gotten his own. It's a lot that has been burned and wasted, with the dragon potential for Team Liquid as well. An Ocean Soul, no less. It's going to be hard for Immortals to just completely let them have that.
Fortunately for Immortals, Team Liquid will not have Baron up for that objective. So, at least a little bit weaker, a little bit harder for them to set up, as Arrow trying to get creative to secure the red buff, but Armeo says, nope, I'm going to smite that one away for myself. And the push continues for Team Liquid with this Baron as they knock down the second inner turret this game and are playing out these 2 lanes. Pretty still has yet to base, so this might just be the mid inhibitor turret falling.
Not just might, it will be. They take that one without a care in the world. Immortals on the side, trying to deny another inhibitor turret going down, but it's just so difficult for them at the moment. They needed Pretty to be here. Well, Team Liquid, they haven't even left the base. They're still inside, escorting that cannon minion onto the Nexus turret.
Now, Bradley is split, doesn't have flash, and Pretty just finished a death cap, along with a buffed up Luden Zeko. So I'm curious if we see a Call to Forge God get pulled by Concept, as TL, you can spot Bradley being split. Concept could pull the trigger if he wants to.
But keep in mind, Cannon Barrage is up for Bradley. It's a good tool to be able to help out despite him still split pushing in the spot lane, escorting the minions into the inhibitor turret, getting a lot more damage. Team Liquid are kind of just waiting it out. That's a lot of damage that came in. Here's the call of the Forge God. Knock up onto Armeo, onto 3 members with the Solar Flare as well. They're following up. They've got a lot of damage on Yon. The flash is not enough. Shut down for Arrow with the kill onto Pretty as well. It's a 1-for-1 fight.
How did Pretty go down? He had Zhonya's and Flash. Did Bradley sneak a barrel combo? Was it just the ultimate from the GP that forced the Victor to fall? If Victor stays alive, IMT might be able to push forward and do more, but that was not the case. As we take a second look, Arrow hits a beautiful ultimate. That's enough for IMT to push the button to go. As Pretty...
Gotta watch this.
Oh my god, Bradley. Holy smokes, this Gangplank is doing way too much damage, as I know the Infinity Edge has been completed by Bradley, but Pretty did not see that one coming. He wasn't even able to press Zhonya's or Flash away from that, as we get a pause. Team Liquid aren't able to end this game quite yet, and we're going to have to stick around to see if they can.
I almost wonder if Pretty's like, what happened? How did I die? Just had to watch the replay himself to see. That was a lot of damage from Bradley, and before that, he was only on the BF sword. When we get back into the game, he's got that eye edge now. If he was already hurting before with the barrel chains, I don't even think he needs to worry about any health bars on the side of Pretty. He's just going to one-shot them all.
That's one way to get a lot out of first strike. You know, just do 1,000 damage crit.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's more than 1,000 damage, to be honest. But right now, Concept's got Armeo split, flag and drag back into the pit. Bradley wasn't able to get the barrel chain that time onto Joey, but he's just waiting it out. They've got control around the dragon for now, but Yon isn't here, but neither is Pretty. Pretty doesn't have the TP available. It's going to be a few seconds until it's going to be up, so they can wait this one out. There's going to be the blast code over the wall. Chad can try to fight this one with the lantern, and they've got it somehow! It is Concept Shockwave onto 2 members, but they deny the soul going over to Team Liquid. The flash coming in from Team Liquid, trying to see who they can follow up. They've got Chad inside the pit, but it's going to be a heartbreaker over the wall. Armeo flashes, Cataclysm in the back line, but they've got this huge... No! Concept doesn't get the knock-up coming in from the Horn, but they've got the kill shut down for Arrow nonetheless. They've traded for the take. A lot of damage on to Rhino. Look at Bradley. He's waiting for the barrel chain. He wants to be able to get back into the fight, but he's rooted up. Has to eat the oranges to be okay. As they wait and kite it back out, Immortals denying the soul is critical.
Oh, Concept not connecting the Ornhorn there. That could have been a huge turn for Immortals, but not to be, as that Nexus turret will stay alive for the side of Immortals. And of course, that turret does regen. They deny the Ocean Soul successfully yet again, and with a few shutdowns, do narrow up the gold deficit as we take a second look at this one, man. Magical. Armeo tries to get creative with the combo, but it's the smite from Concept that helps out to secure it. And from here, Arrow really clutch auto on a couple of these barrels. Armeo extends his fight really quickly, and then Concept, oh no, he gets rooted on the side of Team Liquid. That's why he wasn't able to finish up the rest of the ultimate.
Looking at Pretty. That's going to be the lethal damage, but not enough. The Prowler's Claw couldn't get the barrel chain with the body block coming in from Chad as well. He tries his own barrel chain, kiting it back. Keep in mind, we've got 45 seconds until this Bear's going to spawn. Not enough yet. Armeo goes back in. Cataclysm 2. It's going to be a Solar Flare to split apart the fight for Team Liquid with a shutdown going over to Chad. They've got Concept on the other side. Harry's been caught. Concept wants him. Even with the Shockwave, it's not enough to stop him. And look at this, the Reset City in for Chad. Lantern! Harry's still alive, but look at the chase coming in from Joey. Ignite is not enough to be able to pick up the kill onto Harry. The kite back in from Team Liquid keeps them going, even if they lost the top side of the map.
Well, they will lose at least one Nexus turret this time, but Team Liquid not snowballing this one cleanly.
Minions? Winions? Winions?
Winions?
Oh,
okay, Pretty's back, but they lose both Nexus turrets. Baron is being started by IMT. 3 members are alive. Team Liquid, Harry will have a full health bar and should have Shockwave up in time as the ult comes in from Bradley.
Bradley's up. Yeah, exactly. That's going to be the cannon barrage used to try to see if he can force out Immortals from the pit. They have to leave. If they don't, the game's going to end.
And somehow, if we have a team fight for Immortals rather soon, Pretty and Arrow both have Flash. Harry does not for another 2 minutes. So I want to see if they can hit this window hard. Flashes are so important when you have front-to-back team fighters. As unfortunately for IMT, they had to reset. And this should just be a free Baron for Team Liquid. This goes down way too fast. This is gone.
Way too fast.
Oh,
That's
no.
the problem when you try to go for a reset against a team like Bradley on Gangplank and Yon on Jinx.
And this time for Team Liquid, they will have Baron for the Ocean Soul. And they should be able to use their Baron buff to get the waves in the right state, take control of that bot lane river preemptively, and make this very difficult for Immortals to bounce back, as that reset from IMT really killed any momentum they had in this game. Because if you give Harry, Yon, and Bradley at these item breakpoints any free time with that Baron, it's going down.
The Baron, the Dragon, because look at this. Like you talked about, they have the Baron with the Dragon spawning up. They've got control. They're pushing back in these minions. Even if the inhibitor has respawned in mid lane, Team Liquid have so much opportunity to gain control of this pit.
And IMT are trying to fight back, but clearing out these Baron-empowered waves, not even easy for a Victor, who has some of the best wave clear in the game, and Team Liquid just marching their way down the mid lane. IMT are showing will force Team Liquid to hover the top side as Harry trying to clean up the top inner turret before they really set their sights on controlling this bot river.
With an open inhibitor and an open Nexus, Immortals can't just let this game go. That is a nice hook, but look at the Solar Flare getting the flash out of Yon on the other side all the time, though. Bradley's been focused by Chad. They've got the kill, and it's a split fight. Yon's gone, same with Rhino, but keep in mind, Bradley's been doing a lot of work on the other side, being able to make it a 2-for-2 across the board.
Oh, Harry.
Harry, too. That's a nice kill there. Triple kill from Harry. Do they even care about getting the soul when you have Bradley and Harry still up?
Arrow and Pretty do not have Flash. If Armeo is here, he has Flash Cataclysm. They could combo and take down the carries for IMT.
Pretty's doing his best to see if he can keep Team Liquid from ending the game. It is an exposed Nexus. Bradley and Armeo are playing up. Arrow's got to be careful. He's healing up. He doesn't have Flash anymore, and he's shut down by Armeo. That damage from Bradley. A double kill to finish off the game. Team Liquid will get the 2-0 over Immortals at 37-minute game. But finally, they finish it off in style, but they are just waiting for one more barrel chain. They didn't have enough underneath the fountain to get more kills.
Team Liquid, I think that this week for Team Liquid, it shows a lot of improvement, not only individually for someone like Bradley, who is all of a sudden playing Gangplank on stage and carrying with the pick, but also we have high expectations for this team. This team, when Jenkins and Armeo were playing, this was the best team that we had in Academy last year. 4 out of those 5 members are returning once Ayla gets back in this lineup. We expect this team to be a top 2 team in Academy. And I know week 1, that 1-3 start was not the start that Spawn and Team Liquid wanted, but their bounce back since then, a 3-1 week with a split with 100 Thieves, one of the stronger teams we have in Academy as well. Team Liquid have a lot to be happy about after week 3 and moving into our first super week of Academy for week 4.
Yeah, we got a lot of excitement next week. We still have more excitement over on the other channel as well, because they still got a whole nother series that they get a cast on Academy. But here, I mean, just wrapping up the day, we got more 2-0s. A big surprise in the first one with 100 Thieves getting a 2-0 over CLG. But then this one, Team Liquid are showing how they're really gaining themselves together, like gaining that synergy. I mean, sure, it's one series, but yesterday, too, they looked really good, especially Bradley on that gameplay.
Oh, I'm saying it was a fun series, as the first game had 50 kills, Matt Magical. What else could you want?
I mean, that is true.
It's right up I could want a lot more things, but for you, right up your alley.
I do like lots of kills in the game, but for now, we're not done with the broadcast. We're going to toss a break when we come back. We'll have an interview all lined up, as well as wrapping up the day, so make sure you stick around.